Hello and welcome back to the Elden Ring tales. You know what I haven't talked about yet? The story of Elden Ring, and this has two reasons. For one, this is not a lore channel. I will not research the plot and all the little details to present you a wholesome theory about what is going on in this game and how to interpret it. There are a lot of high quality channels that do exactly that, however I cannot really recommend any here because I haven't watched any Elden Ring lore videos yet. What I wanna do in these videos is looking at the game as I play it, which means that you will get my thoughts on the story as it happens on screen. These interpretations will probably be incorrect because I haven't seen all of the game and will probably miss things during my playthrough. I cannot give you the perspective of the omniscient narrator like a dedicated lore channel. Instead you will get a more personal perspective and a view on the story that is much closer to what the character actually experiences. And so far, Ren Rama-sama hasn't experienced much of a story, which is reason number 2 why I haven't talked much about it. There was the intro video, which bombarded me with a lot of names and strange words that have no meaning for me because I lack the context. And a couple of characters talked about how I should search for the Elden Ring and go to Stormvale Castle, which again has no context for Ren Rama-sama and me. But this is about to change here in the Roundtable Hold, because there's a lot going on here. It is populated by a bunch of characters. Some are your typical vendors, like this guy who offers incantations. Interestingly, there is no sorcery vendor here, so faith characters have an advantage in the early game. Here we have a fancy looking guy who doesn't sell anything, but he is in search of his subordinate.
Be sure to tell me if you meet a young woman named Lanya. She's a servant to my house. Honestly, she's such a little tomboy.
So that's a side quest. But is he a vampire? His armor set gives off a strange vibe. Speaking of undead, there is also this guy, who is very insightful. Yeah, thank you, I guess. And then there is whatever this is. Okay, that's the general shop of this place. Weird. Anyway, we also have a blacksmith. At first glance he looks like any other weapon upgrade machine you encounter in From Software games, but talking to him reveals that there's more going on with him.
I see you've noticed the chains. Nothing special. I'm a prisoner and these are my chains. I'm trapped by the hold. I'm dying, smithing for you fools. I've no grudge against you. My being a prisoner is no fault of yours. Besides, I don't mind smithing. Despite my differences, the weapons get stronger all the same. Given time, technique never fails. Besides, it helps me forget the sheer terror of her.
There is clearly more to it, but for now we have to leave it at this cliffhanger. Close by, in the most luxurious room, resides this woman, dressed in a black attire.
Greetings, great champion called by grace. I am Fia.
Fia? Where have I heard that name before?
Fia the Deathbed Companion.
Yeah, so she is quite the important character. I thought she was part of the major bosses of this game, because in Dark Souls they are usually introduced during the intro video. But no, she just sits here as a normal NPC. I should be careful with her, just in case. But let's hear what she has to say.
Great champion, would you allow me to hold you? But briefly, perhaps you might share with me some of your lively vigor and your stout-heartedness.
What?
Doing so will grant me the warmth of a champion. And you, I am sure, will bear a Baldakin's blessing.
What is she talking about? Let her hold you? And that gives me a blessing in exchange for my vigor? I don't know. Let's not overthink this and just try it out. If it has grave consequences, then so be it. Whoa, lady, that's rather intimate.
You are very warm.
And there's the blessing, so she was not lying.
What you felt light up inside you was a Baldakin's blessing. Though it is but a fleeting thing, I am afraid. Come back to me, should you require another. I will take you in my arms as often as you need.
Yeah, but what is the cost? What did I give up to acquire it? I should watch my character carefully just in case. But first, let's experiment a bit.
I am pleased to see you again. Would you like me to hold you once more? The blessing is still aflame in your breast, dear. Would you like to be held, regardless? Then good day to you, my dear.
Aha, and now let's do it again. I wanna see all the outcomes. Since I already have a blessing, I'm probably already doomed anyway.
Regardless? Now, come closer. You are so very warm.
Oh, what's this?
I was known as a deathbed companion, where I come from, after I received the warmth and lively vigor from a number of champions.
Huh?
I lay with the remains of an exalted noble, to grant him another chance at life.
Wait,
To do
what?
so is the purpose of my being. But before I could bear the noble into new life, I was awakened by the guidance of grace and chased from my birthplace. Pray, be kind. Despite all that, I still wish to be a deathbed companion. So please, let me hold you like this, as often as it takes. Then good day to you, my dear.
Okay, so what I understood is, by holding people, she drains some vigor out of them, basically life energy. And she can use that to revive dead people, or at least to prolong the life of somebody who is close to dying. That's extremely powerful. No wonder she was mentioned in the intro video. So she can probably revive somebody. If she holds people like me often enough, she gets enough life energy to bring somebody back, and her little speech just now alludes to that being her plan. That automatically makes her an important figure in this game. Depending how her power works, she could bring back an important character, maybe somebody else who was mentioned in the intro video. Fascinating. But I should be careful, because in the end it's Ren Rama-sama's life energy that she is taking. Nevertheless, an intriguing character. Although she's not even the most interesting person in the Roundtable Hold. That one is...
And Sir Gideon Ofnir, the all-knowing.
who is also here. Cool cane, by the way.
Oh, this is a rare occasion. I can't remember the last time a new tarnished made their way to the round table. Allow me a word of advice, as your senior.
Senior?
Are a mere visitor to the round table. Nothing more. A house guest. Yet to earn their keep. Remember your place, newcomer.
Okay, not very welcoming, are you? Later on I met him again in what appears to be his office. He still didn't warm up to me in the slightest, but he had more information.
What do you need? I have little time to spare. Oh, are you aggrieved at the notion you are but a visitant here? Then you would do well to remember the first words of grace given to you. Follow the guidance of grace. Lay low the shard bearers, and claim for yourself a great rune. Do so, and the doors to the round tables in the chamber will open, and you will receive the wisdom of the two fingers.
What he basically said is that I need to prove myself to become a worthy member of the Knights of the Round Table. Then he would grant me more information, and there was also something about two fingers. Doesn't make any sense now, but regardless. That's a good opportunity for Ren Rama-sama. Not only will he finally understand what's going on here, but he will also be able to join this organization, which might result in other benefits and hopefully a proper quest. All he has to do is prove his knighthood. And how should he do that? Gideon said something about a great rune, but I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Doesn't matter, because I have already something even better in mind. Greetings, it is I, Sir Ren of Rama-sama, future Knight of the Round Table. As you can see, the days of looking like a barbaric vagrant are over. The first step of proving my knighthood is to act and look like a knight. And that's why I dropped the dual greatswords in favor for a classic sword and board style. In addition, I also equipped a short spear which rounds out my arsenal. It is probably the weakest of all the spears in the game, but it is the only one that's accessible at the moment. Both weapons are on +1, and I also put on the knight armor set, of course. Although I need to get rid of the helmet for now because of my equip load. It is also noteworthy that after my victory over Margit the Fell I can now equip 2 talismans, which is nice because so far I have found exactly 2. However, I'm not sure what the Twin Blade talisman actually does. Regarding stats, if you're keeping track you'll notice that I made 3 level ups since the last chapter and put points into vigor and endurance. Everything else is still basic, but I will probably start investing into strength and dexterity. So this is the new knight build, but that alone doesn't make me a member of the Round Table. Sir Ren of Rama-sama will start out with a quest to prove his knighthood, and what is the ideal, the greatest quest that a knight could possibly fulfill? It is to seek the Holy Grail and bring it to Camelot. Okay, that might sound absurd, but that's actually exactly what I wanted to do next, even before I talked to Gideon. You see, the merchants I found so far didn't only sell goods, but also information. There are these little papers they sell that contain certain hints. I bought them all and most of them didn't really help me. I mean, look at this. Slay the demi-human mob's leader and the rest will lose hope and panic. Really? I'm pretty sure I did that before in the cave at the beach, but afterwards the smaller ones still attacked me. So this is useless. But there was one of those that got my attention and I was planning to follow the hints in it sooner or later. It reads: a flask of wondrous physics still remains in the Third Church of America north of the Mistwood. Flask of wondrous physics. If you ask me, turning blood into wine definitely counts as wondrous physics. It is still a stretch to interpret it as the Holy Grail, but thanks to the Roundtable Hold I was already thinking about Camelot, King Arthur, and of course the fantastic movie Monty Python and the Holy Grail. And if you combine Ren Rama-sama's goal to join the Knights of the Round Table, then it is clear what he has to do. He will locate this flask of wondrous physics, will bring the holy artifact back here and prove his knighthood so that nobody will ever doubt him again. And also this flask sounds like a useful item, so I will benefit from this quest anyway. So the golden question is where to find the Holy Grail. According to legend, it is in a church north of the Mistwoods. I have been in these woods before. It is the place that Patches brought me after I opened his sleep gas chest, and it is where I fought the big bear. Looking at the map, there are 2 structures visible north of these woods, so I assume it is one of these 2 locations. If not, then I should at least be close by and can head south until I reach the forest. With that I have my destination. I could now just fast travel to the nearest site of grace. But that would be boring. This is supposed to be a quest to prove Ren Rama-sama's knighthood, an adventure. So instead of using the mysterious and, in this game, unexplained power of teleportation, I will travel from the entrance of Stormvale Castle all the way to the northern parts of East Limgrave. There are uncharted territories and some landmarks on the way, so I hope there will be some memorable events that transform this journey into a story worth telling. The first of these landmarks is the structure up ahead, which is surprisingly undamaged compared to all the ruins around here. Makes you wonder what powerful figure lives here. I didn't do that, by the way. Ren Rama-sama got off torrent on his own. That happened before, so I have a suspicion what this means. Yep, there we have another invader. It's the infamous recusant Henricus, who used to be a knight of the Round Table, but because of his unorthodox behavior and his refusal to abide to the code of knighthood, he was kicked out. Now his mission is to prove his strength by defeating other knights, and he thought that this new guy would be an easy target. Think again, Henricus. There you have it. These dark arts are exactly the reason why you will never rejoin the Knights of Camelot. Now look at Ren Rama-sama in comparison. He is fighting honorably and his resolve to knighthood is not wavering in the slightest. Rest in peace, Henricus. You were the first obstacle of this journey, but it takes more than a knight fallen from grace to stop this quest. Okay, then let's have a look at the building itself. I'm not sure what I was expecting, but it was nothing big, not a second Castle Rama-sama, formerly known as Castle Morn. And the reality is much simpler. This is an arena for PvP duels, which is great in its own right, but it is irrelevant for this playthrough. I view Ren Rama-sama's adventure as a single-player experience, and I will not actively engage in PvP. If there are events or areas that kind of force you in it, then I will view it as part of the experience, but for now I will ignore everything that is gated behind a menu and that needs my input to start, meaning you will not see me summoning other players or invading them. There is certainly a lot of fun in PvP in From Software games, but for me they are first and foremost finely crafted single-player experiences, and on my first playthrough I usually ignore the multiplayer features for the most part. That's why this arena here is neat, but for Ren Rama-sama and for this playthrough, it is just an abandoned and empty building with no clues about the Holy Grail. That's why we quickly move on. And while his adventure continues, Ren Rama-sama reflects on what has happened so far, and he tries to make some sense out of it. You see, Ren Rama-sama is not from the lands between or the surrounding regions. He was raised in a village called Kamura. It is surrounded by wild lands, populated by giant monsters and mythical beasts. And the people of Kamura make a living out of that, because a lot of them are trained to become monster hunters. That's also true for Ren Rama-sama, who quickly climbed the ranks of the Monster Hunter Guild until he was one of their most famed members. When the village was threatened by a fusion of two legendary dragons with almost godlike powers, he was part of the team who defeated that monster and saved the village. What followed was a time of peace, and life in Kamura returned to its normal state. But soon news arrived that in a faraway kingdom across the sea, monsters of unparalleled power wreaked havoc. Ren Rama-sama was recruited by a representative of that kingdom. He boarded a ship and set out to a new adventure. And this is where his memories become hazy. The next thing he knows for sure is that he woke up in the Chapel of Anticipation and was defeated by the Grafted Scion. Was that a dream? Anyway, now he is somehow in these lands between and is not sure what is going on here. Is this the kingdom he wanted to go to? Seems unlikely, and he can't even remember arriving somewhere with the ship he boarded back in Kamura. So what is this place and how did he get here? Ren Rama-sama still doesn't know, but he intends to find out. And that brings us back to today. If you should wonder where this backstory is coming from, Ren Rama-sama is my character from the game Monster Hunter Rise. I based his backstory on that game and added some creative freedom. The ship was supposed to bring him into the content of the Sunbreak DLC, which I never played, and so he was instead pulled into Elden Ring. The power of a Monster Hunter character is mainly based on their equipment, which he all lost when he arrived in the lands between. That's why he starts out as a low-level character again. You see, it all makes sense. His tendency to change equipment on a regular basis and his motivation to hunt down monsters, and even his ambition to become a Knight of the Round Table, which is basically a guild in his point of view. All of this is based on his backstory. This guy over here is a Knight of Godrik, his armor set gives it away. I will talk about Godrik later on, but for now it is only important that they see themselves as the rulers of Limgrave. They don't have a clue about the Holy Grail, but they don't tolerate the Knights of the Round Table, and that's why we have a duel of champions by using the ancient art of jousting. In theory at least. In reality it looks more like poking the air a lot and drifting around each other. Looks kinda goofy, but it is fun to outmaneuver another rider and get a hit with the tiny hitbox of the spear. I'm still amazed how different fighting on horseback feels. Since this is a duel, I will continue this on foot. Which is a bad idea as you can see, but Sir Ren of Rama-sama rather chooses defeat than winning without honor. And the good old guard counter finishes it. That is the end for this nameless knight. I'm sure that wasn't the last of Godrik's forces that we will see on this quest. Shortly after, I encountered the next character in this story. His name is Bernal and he sells Ashes of War, which is really cool. I wanted to experiment more with them and he offers a bunch of interesting ones.
Name's Bernal. Tarnished, just like you. Let me ask you something. Are you here in the lands between to take up the fight? Any interest in bearing the torch of my battle arts? All I know is the sword. Picked up a fair few tricks in my time, too. Now's the time to pass them on. To a good Tarnished like you. Well, until we meet again.
That sounded foreboding. Nah, must be my imagination. Except it wasn't. Because what followed was rather unexpected. I want to tell you a story, but unfortunately I don't have video footage for it. You see, I don't capture every moment of gameplay, and after finding this vendor, I set out to experiment a bit with different Ashes of War. I thought nothing plot relevant could happen, so I deactivated my capture device, equipped some newly bought battle arts and searched for some enemies. Close by I found 2 towering barbarians. They were tough but the perfect test objects. When I returned satisfied to the site of grace, it was already deep in the night. I sat down to heal up, and since I had a couple of runes left, I wanted to buy more ashes to continue my experiment. So I went back to Bernal in his little shack, but something was wrong. When I came closer to the entrance, I noticed that he wasn't there. That was weird. Did he already leave for a new location, or did I accidentally start a quest with him? I just wanted to buy more stuff, but now he was already gone? Or maybe he didn't leave, but just changed his position. Since it was at night, maybe he just sat down somewhere. I mean, there is a day and night cycle, the game may as well do something with it. So I entered the house, and then it happened. It's hard to put in words what I saw, but it was like red energy particles swirling out of a thick black shadow. I backed off confused. I just wanted to buy Ashes of War. What was going on? I suddenly remembered that I wasn't recording any of this, so I reached out for my capture device. Just when I touched it, a creature emerged out of the shadow, a menacing black knight wielding a brutal looking sword and an armor covered in thorns. I was caught off guard and didn't know what to do, but one thing immediately became clear. His murderous intent. This knight is here to kill me, and nothing in this world can stop him. He is the legendary Black Knight, arch-nemesis of the Round Table and pursuer of everybody who aspires to gain true knighthood. He will never let Ren Rama-sama reach the Holy Grail. And also, he totally cheats. What was that flying sword thingy? Did you see that? That's not how a weapon works. What a load of... Oh, look who's back. At the exact same location that the Black Knight appeared. Okay, mister, I'm all about fighting. How do you explain yourself? He just pretends nothing happened. He has different equipment than the Black Knight though. But he's still my main suspect. But more importantly, how do I fight the Black Knight again now that Bernal is back at his spot? Last time he was gone when I returned from my fight with the barbarians. So I went and took them out again, but when I returned Bernal was still there. The solution was much more simple. It's the day and night cycle. Bernal is only present during the day, and at night he is mysteriously gone, and when you enter the hut, he appears again. Okay, so now that this riddle is solved and I'm not in a state of shock, I can learn how to fight this enemy. What? How did he get me? I was so far away. You damn cheater. Okay, I see how it is. You know no mercy. Then let's quickly start the next round. Oh, it's day again. So I have to skip to the night for every try. How inconvenient. I guess that's one way of telling me to reconsider if I actually want to fight that guy. But so far we didn't have a real fight. I was just surprised by his cheap tricks. With a tough enemy like this, it is important to learn how to fight and survive it. So let's do that from now on. First insight, the spear seems to deal more damage than the sword. Second, the red glow signifies ranged attacks. His shield does AoEs with lots of knockback, and what is this? Oh god, that's probably deadly. Not this again, but you can evade it with your iframes, that's good. He doesn't seem to stagger whatsoever. Oh, I'm dead. Alright, I get it. The Black Knight is really tough and his damage is just too high. When I'm not fully healed, he can kill me in 1 or 2 attacks. I'm probably not supposed to fight it at my level. Leveling up and coming back later is most definitely a good option. But I will ignore this last insight, because this is not only a challenge for me as a gamer, but for Sir Ren of Rama-sama's honor as well. That's why I'll continue this. So let's look at this adversary a bit more. His in-game name is Bell-Bearing Hunter. Yeah, I got nothing on that. So I'll stick with Black Knight. I have no idea what he's actually hunting, and his visual design doesn't offer any clues either. He is not with Godrik, that's for sure, but he may be part of a faction I haven't met yet. One striking detail are the thorns around his shield and armor, which reminds me of the Tree Sentinel. However, their design and color coding couldn't be more different. And that's all I can think of about the in-game lore. In the lore of the quest for the Holy Grail though, there he has a fitting role as the Black Knight that hunts Sir Ren of Rama-sama without mercy. He could try to run away, but that would only buy him so much time. In the end, the Black Knight will get him again. This is a true test for his knighthood, because with every defeat, the temptation of just giving up and running away becomes stronger. But that's just not how a knight would handle it. Even if against unsurmountable odds, a true knight has to stand his ground and fight with all he got. That's what Ren Rama-sama is doing, and that's why I'll keep trying over and over again. Apart from the in-game lore and the made-up narrative about the Holy Grail, there is a third story unfolding here that I want to share with you. When I was playing this part, it was around 11 PM, and before encountering the Black Knight, I was actually about to end my game session soon. But now I was faced with this new challenge, and the question was if I should continue now or take a break and restart this boss on another day. You might think that with each loss I became more and more tired, and you would be correct. However, I also became more and more determined, and I vowed to myself, no sleep until I succeed. So you could say that I'm quite stubborn, and also that I'm playing this game wrong, since Elden Ring offers so many directions to explore, and there is absolutely no harm in coming back later with more experience and better gear. But that's not how I do things. And that's why I accumulated a lot of losses against this guy. This will take a while, so let's talk about something different for a change. During my fights, I noticed something. Actually, it had bothered me before, but I thought it was just something temporary. If you look below my stamina bar, you can see 3 icons. The one on the left, the red box with the upward-facing arrow, is the talisman that grants me more max health. And next to it is my other talisman, and I still don't know what it does, but that's not the point here. The third icon is also a red box, and I assume that it signifies that my max HP is lowered for some reason. This is not related to this boss fight. The symbol has been following me around for quite some time. You might have noticed it earlier. And if it actually decreases my max HP, then I should do something about it. So before the next round, I checked my status screen and went through my inventory to find any clues what could cause this. And then I remembered. This blessing I got from Fia. I was wondering before what the cost of this blessing is, and since she is all about draining life energy to give it to somebody else, it would fit. So let's test it out. The blessing itself functions like a buff to poise, which sounds nice by itself, but activating it didn't remove the icon for decreased health. Ah, did you see that? The icon is gone and my health bar is now slightly bigger. So the malus wasn't game changing, but nevertheless more life is always good. And that means that Fia really drains health. I should keep that in mind. Now I was in the mood for experimentation, so I tried out the sword for a change. It does less damage, but damage is not everything. Maybe the moveset will feel more effective in this fight. In general, I can recommend switching up weapons if you don't succeed. Sometimes you just need a different perspective to learn the right things about your enemy, and having a different moveset can be just the thing for that. In this case, however, It is not my worst round, but it doesn't feel right. It's hard to put in words, but the quick pokes of the spear just feel safer against this enemy, so I will stick with it. Until this point I learned a lot and racked up many losses. The Black Knight is now officially the most deadly enemy so far, dethroning the Leonine Misbegotten, who needed 7 attempts. Sure, I'm making progress, but if you think I'm close to beating him, well, I haven't even started the speed up section yet. After this ordeal, the last question left is, how do you actually defeat the Black Knight without any leveling up? First of all, you should start by getting in a safe combo when he's teleporting in. There's probably more optimal things you can do, but for me it is 3 light attacks followed by the repeating thrust Ash of War. Next, you should quickly lead him out of the house, because you don't want to be fighting in there. And then the fight follows a simple formula: stay close to him and circle around him all the time. You don't want to deal with his flying sword nonsense, so even if the shield explosion forces you to back off, immediately get in again. Try to evade his attacks, and when the timing is too tight, put up your shields. You need to learn the finishers of his combos so you know when to attack safely. There's his stab, which often misses when you're circling around him, his shield bash, the big overhead swing at the end of his red glowing combo, and the delayed red glowing horizontal strike. All of them offer you enough recovery time to get in a safe hit before he continues attacking. The last one of those, the red horizontal strike, is actually tricky to dodge. He pauses during the wind up and you need to dodge afterwards. Apart from that, the most dangerous attack for me is still his grab. It still gets me a lot and the timing to evade it is really strict. You can try to run away, but it has a monstrous range. And of course, there are his ranged attacks. They are ruthless. If you get pushed out too much, then try to dodge towards him so you can resume fighting close quarters. He seems to become frustrated. He really wants to get out his grab. When you get hurt like this, you need to stay calm. Wait for the next opportunity to attack and instead drink a potion. Oh yeah, the drill. When you are close to him, it is rather easy to dodge and it offers you a huge window for counterattacks. If all of this looks too easy, then look at the attempt counter again, because you're watching someone who has fought the Black Knight over and over again. I had to learn all of this the hard way, and 1 or 2 mistakes in a row will still end this attempt, because he can kill me so fast. At this point it was mostly a battle of concentration, and if I could keep this up until this huge health pool is finally depleted. My hands were shaking and I held my breath every time he went for another attempt of a stupid grab. After so many losses, my patience was running out and I was getting tired as well. All I had to do was to play it safe and to don't get greedy. However, hard to put in words how I felt at that moment. Relief, triumph, and finally freedom. I love these hard battles. It was not easy to endure, but I enjoyed it nevertheless, and after all that hardship to finally overcome this challenge, that's the best feeling games like this have to offer. Bernal is still here and he doesn't act any different. Was my suspicion wrong? Maybe he was the true target of the Black Knight? I hope I will find out someday. They don't play such a hard boss fight here without any lore explanation, right? I expect to hear from whoever this was again. Man, look at the time. The Black Knight really took over this video. It's time to get back to the story, or rather the lore of this world. What do we actually know about these lands between? For one, they are in pretty bad shape. In the intro video we were told that the Elden Ring was shattered and Queen Marika vanished, which are probably the events that kicked everything off. Then Godwin the Golden was murdered and the children of Marika fought over the shards of the Elden Ring, and so the whole country was thrown into war and chaos. That's why there are so many ruins here. And then there are the Tarnished, which are described as the dead who yet live. I don't have much info on them yet, but their defining feature is that they cannot really get killed. They respawn when they die. Ren of Rama-sama is one of them, but there are others like Gideon or Patches. Why they respawn indefinitely is not really clear, but it ties in well with the gameplay, where every death is a canon event of the playthrough. Interestingly, people are able to immediately recognize Tarnished. So far, most characters referred to Ren of Rama-sama as a Tarnished. There must be an obvious sign. I for myself cannot tell who of the NPCs is Tarnished and who not, only if they told me about it. The other defining feature of a Tarnished is that they can see the guidance of grace. Or at least that they were able to see it. Some have lost that ability. And this guidance is a sign that they have a special destiny in this land. When meeting Melina, she was talking about it and how she can assist me as a maiden. She basically offered me a deal. I have to bring her to the Erdtree and she supports me in finding the Elden Ring. For me as a player, all these things are really intriguing and I want to know more. However, they don't really concern Ren of Rama-sama. For him, the only interesting fact from the lore is why there is no real civilization here. So far everything is just ruins and the inhabitants are either monsters or they belong to the warring factions that seem more like plunderers than protectors. The big kingpin here in Limgrave and even on the Weeping Peninsula is Godrik. His soldiers roam around and have a couple of camps here, and when they spot somebody that doesn't belong to them, they act hostile. Godrik might be related to the former rulers of these lands, but I don't know for sure yet. For all I know, he could just be a strong individual that took control over Stormvale Castle and gathered a lot of soldiers. Rightful ruler or not, it is clear that he isn't investing anything in rebuilding these lands. He just wants to control them with his military. Or in other words, he seems to be a tyrant that needs to be stopped. But if you think Ren of Rama-sama is some kind of hero who fights the evil ruler because it is the right thing to do, then you misinterpret his actions. Ren of Rama-sama's main goal is to find out where he is and how he can leave this place. He wants to return to his mission that he vowed to fulfill when he left his hometown, and as long as this is not the kingdom that hired him, he will refuse to take the responsibility to save this country. He will leave as soon as he finds a way to do so. The only other thing that can motivate him are the monsters of these lands. As a true monster hunter at heart, he wants to learn more about these creatures and test his abilities. That's why he fought the Leonine Misbegotten, the Dragon of the Lake and many others. He will continue to do so whenever he finds a monster that captures his attention. And where does the Roundtable Hold fit into this? Well, for both of his goals, leaving this land and fighting monsters, he needs more information. He couldn't find any safe cities or harbors, and maybe the Roundtable Hold will lead him to one. And if it actually works like the guild back in Camorra, then it will open up other possibilities. That's why he is determined to join its ranks, and that's how Sir Ren of Rama-sama was created. After he has proven his knighthood by retrieving the Holy Grail, he will set out to fulfill his next logical task, taking control over Stormvale Castle. He may not be the hero to save the lands between, but Sir Ren will not let this puny tyrant get into his way. And looking at the map, it seems Stormvale Castle is literally in his way. And besides, there's also personal reasons. Ren Rama-sama hasn't forgotten what Godrik the Grafted did to him. He will have his revenge. But that's a story for another day. There is something going on with ancient technology in this world. I met a couple of robot guys like this, and parts of them are scattered around here. Just like the ever-present ruins, they seem to date back to a former time, probably before the Shattering. But what is the power source for them, and how come they are still active? Another mystery of this world. And there is more. But not this entrance here. After the last chapter I have enough of these mini dungeons for a while, so I ignore this. Besides, I'm about to make a discovery which is much more compelling.
Hello? Can you hear me? Help me. I'm stuck. Hello? Hello? Anyone? Oh, my stars. I'm so happy to see you. I am Alexander, also known as the Iron Fist. And as you can see, I'm stuck here. Please, can you help me out of this? My thanks. 1,000 thanks. Just give me a good smack from the rear with something nice and big. And I'll pop clean out, I'm sure. Don't dally. There's no need to fret. I'm very well trained. Give it your all, I say.
This is an unusual situation. They probably designed it to scare from software veterans, because attacking an NPC is a big no-go in most of their games. Alexander gave me permission for it, so he will probably not go aggressive on me. Nevertheless, he looks sturdy but not invincible. So my first idea was to de-equip a weapon and hit him with my bare fists. Which didn't work. The way it looks, he is really stuck in there, so it probably needs more force. I still didn't want to hit him with a piercing or blunt weapon, so my sword seemed to be the best option.
Don't stop now, friend. Just keep clobbering away at the old... Put those doubts to rest. I'll be just fine. Give it your all, I say.
This feels so wrong. Ugh, thank goodness, that was so unnerving. But look at this cool guy. He's definitely the most badass pot I've ever seen.
Well played, good sir. Well played. Though that mighty wallop of yours almost spelled the end of me.
I love him. I'm getting clear Sigmaya of Katarina vibes from him. So the quest for the Holy Grail led me to a new friend. I hope I'll see this guy again, and I hope I never have to hit him again. Alexander wasn't the only friendly figure on this quest though. Just around the corner I found another of these merchant guys. They are everywhere, but this one offered something new. He played on this strange instrument that they are carrying around, confirming that it is actually an instrument. I wasn't sure about this until now.
Oh, dear. I'm terribly sorry. Are you here as a customer?
And close by, there's the next character.
There's no mistake, is there? Death has left its mark once again.
He may not look like it, but this man is actually a fellow monster hunter.
Ah, a tarnished, are you? I'm known as D. I hunt down those who live in death and weed their death root. Heed my warning. The village here has been touched by death. And worse yet, it is home to a mariner. If you value your life, then go no further.
He spouts a bunch of nonsense, but the basic gist is that there's a strange monster nearby. That's something that Ren Rama-sama can get behind. So without further ado, let's get to that village, which happens to be one of the 2 locations I marked on my map. This is probably not the place where the Holy Grail is hidden, but I will search it to make sure. Also, there's a monster here, and Sir Ren of Rama-sama never turns down a challenge like this. Here we go. It becomes immediately clear that this boss, the Tibia Marina, is different. Vanishing like this and being out of sight is not your typical boss behavior, so we have a Gimmick Boss here. Every Soulsborne game has a couple of those in them, and they are usually used to offer some diversity. Instead of fighting them normally, you have to figure out their gimmick and play around it. They are often partially a puzzle, and finding a solution on how to defeat them is the real challenge. That's why gimmick bosses are usually not that exciting on repeated playthroughs, but when you encounter them for the first time, they can create very memorable encounters, sometimes even more remarkable than a lot of the other bosses. But they are hit or miss. A poorly designed gimmick can be annoying to deal with, and if the solution is immediately clear, then there is no joy in actually figuring it out. I guess it mostly depends on personal taste, but if you ask me, fights like the Fool's Idol from Demon's Souls, Mikolash from Bloodborne, or the Folding Screen Monkeys from Sekiro belong to the best fights in their respective game, although the monkeys may be a controversial pick. Regarding gimmick bosses I didn't like, the best examples would be the Executioner's Chariot from Dark Souls 2, because it seems to be designed purely to frustrate you, and the Celestial Emissary from Bloodborne, because you figure out the gimmick within the first 5 seconds, which creates one of the most anticlimactic encounters in all of Soulsborne. So what about the Tibia Marina? You should have figured it out by now. It summons skeletons, which are pretty gimmicky by themselves, because once defeated they rise up again unless you hit them while they are in their resurrection animation. Normally this is not an issue, but during a boss fight you can't always take your time to clear out the defeated skeletons. The marina itself teleports away when it takes enough damage, and then you have to search it in these ruins while it summons more skeletons. From a game design perspective, it is similar to another boss fight from Bloodborne, Rom the Vacuous Spider to be precise. Rom is definitely more interesting though, because he summons enemies that you haven't fought before, and he uses some crazy spells, but the Marina is not that bad either. His gimmick is too easy to figure out to make it a really memorable fight, but he feels fresh and different. You have to find him, chase him down, and somehow manage the amount of skeletons that are active. None of this is particularly hard, but the challenge comes from managing all these tasks while actually fighting him. Meaningful decisions. So all in all, I'm pleased with this fight, and it really fits the theme of adventure that this chapter is all about. Also, I like his design and his cool looking attacks. He is just cruising in his ship and doing all kinds of maneuvers. This is an enemy I can easily see being reused later on. Give it an arena which is more like a labyrinth and where tracking it down is much harder, and maybe even some other skeletons like archers or riding ones. Or maybe instead of having a boat, it could be on a flying vehicle and you have to find vantage points to attack it consistently. With some of these ideas, a rematch could offer another fresh take. This is definitely a boss that they could play around with more. I'm looking forward to that. After my victory, I searched these ruins for treasure. As I said before, I'm not expecting the Holy Grail here, but I did find something that, in a From Software game, is arguably more valuable. This talisman right here increases your stamina regeneration rate, which is universally one of the most useful buffs in all From Software games, because every build can profit from it. Even if I shouldn't find the Holy Grail in the end, this quest was absolutely worth it. But before we continue, let's go back to our fellow monster hunter.
Another fool who won't listen to reason, eh? But with a prowess for weeding deathroot. How would you like to earn the strength of beasts? If you're inclined to hunt more of those who live in death and weed their deathroot, then I'll introduce you to Godrik, the beast clergyman. I have a matter of my own to attend to, and the beast himself wishes for someone to take my place. What say you?
Beast clergyman. I'm not sure about this.
Very well. Show me your map. I've marked the location for you, of a hidden gateway. It will lead you to Godrik, the beast clergyman.
Okay, let's keep that in mind for later. It is just next to the second marked location, so let's resume on the quest for the Holy Grail for now. It shouldn't be that far. Which is correct and wrong at the same time. I am really close, I can actually see the church from my position now, and also its guardian, but I need to get down from this cliff. There are these tombstones, which I can use as stairs, so I need to do some platforming. Shouldn't be that hard. Oh, not like this. So let's try again, and while Sir Ren of Rama-sama makes his descent, I can talk more about the story. Because I also want to speculate a bit where the game will lead to. Thanks to Gideon, I know that there are great runes. I'm not sure what they actually are, but I assume that collecting these runes will be the main goal of the game. They are probably guarded by the main bosses, and with them I will be able to arrive at the Erdtree and claim the Elden Ring. I'm not sure why I should do that, but the Elden Ring is most likely an artifact of great power. It may be connected to the Erdtree and the Guidance of Grace, and in some way it might be responsible for the ruined state of these lands. The player might be able to restore them to their former glory or to change them to his liking. I expect there to be several factions that seek the Elden Ring, and they all have different things they want to achieve with it. The Roundtable Hold and Gideon is one of these groups, Godrik might be another, and there will be more. I suspect that during the course of his adventure, Ren Rama-sama will meet a lot of them, and they will try to influence him to use the Elden Ring in a specific way. That will lead to different endings and maybe also to different secret areas and bosses. All the while I will hopefully get more information about this world and its lore. I am pretty sure that not everything is as it seems. The Erdtree and the Guidance of Grace are portrayed very positively, but who's to say that this mysterious power is actually a blessing? It might be a curse in disguise. Just because the Erdtree is shining like a golden sun doesn't mean that it isn't sapping the life force out of all the living things here. Most humans appear to be more undead than living, and the strange deformed half-humans and misbegotten might be the work of the Erdtree too. Maybe the tree and the Elden Ring itself are the big problem here, and finding that out could be the secret goal of this game. All the people that want me to follow the Guidance of Grace could be wrong. Maybe it is just a tool to manipulate the Tarnished. Well, we will see if it will succeed. All of this is based on conjecture, and you, the viewer, probably have more information than I have right now. But since I was already talking about the story, I wanted to share these thoughts. I will come back to this when I know more, but for now, we have arrived. You might wonder why I cut out the fight with the giant. It's played out like the ones in the previous chapter, and there was nothing interesting to show. So instead let us focus on the Holy Grail. That sure looks like it. This is a sacred tier and it upgrades your healing flasks. Really valuable, but the game is pulling the same trick as this Indiana Jones movie. It may look like the Grail, but it is not what I was looking for. However, the true treasure is just around the corner, and it looks much more like a vessel for wine from the Middle East. The Flask of Wondrous Physic, the item I was seeking, is a peculiar treasure. From how I understand it, I can mix different ingredients in it to create various buff effects. Right now I can only heal myself with it, but apparently I can find more ingredients at the foot of the big yellow trees that I can see all over these lands. So I might have found the flask, but my quest isn't really completed yet. This was merely the first step, but to fully restore the power of the Holy Grail I have to travel to all the giant trees and gather the different effects. Seems like the quest for the Holy Grail is much greater than I anticipated. Nevertheless, this was a success, and with that Sir Ren of Rama-sama can return to the Roundtable Hold and proudly declare his newfound knighthood. But first there is one more thing I want to check out. I found a couple of new allies on this quest, and one of them, the Hunter of the Dead, told me about a way to get to the Beast Clergyman. Since it is just around the corner, I might as well check it out now. Yeah, this clearly looks like a magical teleportation device. Travel to another location. if it asks me like this, does that mean that I might not be able to easily come back? Makes me nervous. But whatever, let's try it out. Yup, that's where you find a clergyman. But where am I? Oh, what's this? That's an enemy? Looks like a gargoyle from Dark Souls. I guess this one is tough, but I'm not here for it. I can mess with it later. First, let's find out where we actually are. Ah, that's pretty far away. I like how there's this greyish fog separating me from the known map, so I don't even know how this is connected to the rest. That was a hell of a teleport, and I haven't seen a device to teleport me back yet. Well, let us focus on the clergyman for now. Another of these weighty door opening animations. I like them, they build up the suspense of what is inside, and it makes opening a door a major event. Behind it there is this Sanctum, which offers some interesting designs and also something in the back. I guess this is whom I'm looking for. Seems to be more a beast than a clergyman. Let's hear what it has to say. Yep, this is a beast. I don't know, I was expecting something more human with a lot of wisdom about beasts and not an actual beast that is a clergyman as well. Ren Rama-sama is getting some doubts. Offering something powerful to a beast is the opposite of what he's used to do as a monster hunter. I'm not sure. I guess I will think about it for a while. Maybe I will find out more about the consequences before making a decision. But for today, I will leave. Let's instead have a closer look at the gargoyle outside. It's standing there without moving like a statue, and it's not reacting to me at all. So let's give it a swing and see what happens. Aha, that was just a little damage. Oh god, what was that? Okay, that was a one-shot. That was a clear message that I'm not supposed to fight it right now. It offers a huge challenge, but when I get one-shotted like this, then it is way too early, so I'll pass on it. Instead, let's focus on getting back. As you can see, I could just teleport to a site of grace. But I won't. This chapter is all about adventure, and after getting teleported here, it would be boring and also not very knight-like. Instead, I will travel back legitimately. That sounds like a fitting end to this quest. I will not explore this area or fight enemies, I just want to get back, so I will jump on torrent, ride fast and avoid danger. Which is easier said than done, because when approaching this bridge, a major obstacle appeared. Yeah, that's not gonna work. I can use the Site of Grace as a checkpoint, but I need to find another way. The Holy Grail has to return to the Roundtable Hold, no matter what. Unfortunately, this was also not so easy. As you can see, there's a lot of water in the way. The bridge with the dragon is the main exit out of this region. Maybe the only one. But let's check the other side, there might be more over that hill. This place is really strange looking with all the fungus everywhere. It's creepy, especially the red and white colors. There's probably a lot of poison gimmicks going on here. It's like the total opposite of Limgrave with its lush greens. I want to get out of here quickly. Oh yeah, there is another bridge with no dragon in sight. Now I just need to find a way down there. This area is so depressing. The plants all look like they are withering and most trees look sick. Combined with all the grey and brown, this is really not nice to look at. Looks more like your typical Dark Souls color scheme. Whoa, what was that? Poison? What is going on? It's these things on the road. Are they traps? Well, no use in healing it now, there's more on the road. I'm really not intentionally clearing them all up, I actually wanted to avoid them. Okay, now's the time to cure it. But that was probably less dangerous than dealing with the dragon. And here we have our next landmark, this tower, and also another checkpoint. So let's do a quick pit stop and then resume with the escape to Limgrave. Up ahead there is one of these torrent jump points, which I will gladly use, although I always think that I'm going to die when landing again. Oh, some free runes, nice. Let's collect them and hope that we don't summon any zombies or skeletons. No, all clear. What do we have here? Is it dead? Or just sleeping? I probably should not find it out and just continue, but the curiosity of a monster hunter is too strong. Okay, it's clearly dead. Then let's move on. Whoa. Whoa, whoa. This might be really dangerous. Is it these flowers? Their name suggested, and there was no lightning in other places. Maybe they somehow attract electric discharges? Never mind. Ren Rama-sama is not a botanist. Although he is closing in on one of the big trees that I need for the Holy Grail. That's a golden opportunity. And there's also a lot of these jars. What happened here? I hope Alexander's not one of them. There is something in the way though. Yeah, that's an enemy. A tree trunk? Okay, let's save this for another day and just find a way around it. Where did it go? I'm sure it was here. Oh, there it is. It really looks like a living tree. Huh, so my theory about the tree sentinels just got a bit more realistic. But I'm not here to fight, so let's make a run for it. Oh, hello? Excuse me, did you just come out of the ground? Are you a tree as well? What is going on in this place? Which way to go? Maybe I just deal with him and then continue. A high defense. Oh, some poison tricks? I'm starting to really dislike these guys. Ah, here we go. Ah, damn it. I hit him out of the stun state. Wow, and another one. Okay, this is getting ridiculous. Oh. Great, now we have boss music. Torrent, I choose you. Oh shoot. Ah, that was too much damage. And there are even more guys coming out of the ground. I hate this place. But there is a valuable lesson in here. Don't get distracted and focus on your damn escape. And if you get distracted, then not with a boss enemy waiting behind you. So here we go again. Start up the music and just concentrate on getting away. It really must be these flowers. Okay, there's the boss. This time I will not leave torrents back. I just ride by, grab my runes, and then we are out. Let's go up here. There are enemies, but they won't catch me. You're too slow. Oh, what the hell is that? Whoa, I'm making almost no damage. And it's gone. Well, this is also for the future. Did I just see... Oh shit, this one is huge. And it's awake, so bail. That was loud. And there are more of them. This is like a Monster Hunter's paradise. And there are some more chilling at the lake. And another one. Is this their home turf or what? Also, there is some kind of effect on me. Do you see these red blood streams coming out of me? What is this? I'm not losing health at the moment, but that can't be good. And on top of that, I maneuvered myself towards another ravine. At least it seems to be safe here, no dragons or tree people around. Oh, what is this now, this glowing light? And now the sky turns red? Is this hell? This country is really wild. There's a constant sense of danger, and not only because I feel underleveled for this region. I like it. And look at the other side, there are more interesting enemies. Up until this point it was a wild ride, and I enjoyed this tour a lot. I'm glad I didn't just teleport back. I'm not done yet, but the second half was a bit calmer, so I want to shift the focus on another topic. This is a good opportunity to summarize what has happened in this chapter. If you look at it from a pure gameplay perspective, then the answer is not much. I haven't really completed any objectives, made no progress, and I fought no major bosses. There was interesting stuff like the Black Knight, the Tibia Marina, or this tour right now, but none of these events are major milestones in Elden Ring playthrough. Nevertheless, for me as a player, the events of this chapter were the most exciting yet. This story I was telling you about the proof of knighthood and the Holy Grail are made up. They are not really in the game. But I didn't invent them for this video, it was really the story I was following while playing. What I did here is commonly referred to as a player-driven story. A story that is not told by the game itself, but rather by a player that interacts with it. There is lots of theory behind it, and I will not go into too much detail here. But if you want to, I put a link to a more thorough analysis of it in the description. The basic gist is that by making decisions and interacting with the game's systems, a player can be able to create a narrative that is unique to him or her and that is not designed by the developers. I made the decision to look for this flask of wondrous physics and to travel there from Stormveil Castle. With this decision, every encounter and event I met on the way, and even after it, is somehow connected, not by the systems of the game, but by the narrative that I formed in my head. Since I want to join the Roundtable Hold, this journey had a theme of knighthood, and that's why a lot of my decisions were based on acting as a knight. And the enemies I fought were the ones preventing me from fulfilling my quest. Most notably the Black Knight. He didn't really belong to this quest, but because of my decisions and interactions, he now belongs to the logical path that led me from Stormveil Castle all the way to the Flask of Wondrous Physics. In my player-driven story, the bell-bearing hunter plays a crucial role of a main antagonist, but for another player he could play a completely different part. To sum it up, by choosing to join the Roundtable Hold and gather the Flask of Wondrous Physics, I established a framework of a simple narrative, and the events that happened while I was playing filled it with more details, characters and events. That transformed these otherwise unremarkable play sessions into a somewhat cohesive story that enriched the whole journey for me. It is certainly not the best story, but it immersed me, and all the game had to do was offer me some interesting events that I could connect to a story. Player-driven stories like this can create a lot of fun, and good open world games excel at presenting a player opportunities to craft their own stories. It needs a certain amount of player freedom to work. A completely linear game cannot achieve it. But it is not restricted to open world games, far from it. Good RPGs, strategy games, Metroidvanias and many more can create them, sometimes even more simpler games. Take Mega Man X. In which order did you defeat the Robo-Masters, when did you get which upgrade, and did you acquire the Hadouken? There is a small player-driven story in there, however it cannot compare to the rich narratives that you get in a game that is focused on player freedom. That's why Minecraft is probably the best example, because it offers almost no own narrative and everything is made up by the player, which really fits to Minecraft if you think about it. While it is not exclusive to open world games, it is certainly a strength of the good representatives of this genre, and after I was so harsh with them in the previous chapter, this story here was meant to present the other side of the argument. It certainly works in Elden Ring. It doesn't excuse the repetitive mini-dungeons, but now I have something else that I can focus on, and that's why right now the game is really enjoyable. And just like that, Sir Ren of Rama-sama arrived at the border of Caelid and returned to Limgrave. While riding back, there was something strange going on in the sky. Look at it. Anyway, we are back, and now Ren Rama-sama can finally return to the Roundtable Hold and show off the Holy Grail. But nobody cares, of course. Since all of it was just a player-driven story, the game and its characters don't react to it in any way. That's the downside of it. Most of the time, player-driven stories don't really impact the game in a meaningful way. Nevertheless, I felt pretty fulfilled at that moment, and in the end it was all about the journey and the items I collected on the way. I mean the friends I made, like Dee, who is now resident of the Roundtable Hold. Unfortunately, best boy Alexander is nowhere to be found, but I'm sure I will meet him again. And that wraps up the quest for the Holy Grail and this chapter. Next time I will storm to Stormvale Castle and get my revenge on Godrik the Grafted. I haven't forgotten about him and what he did to me. So until then... Hold on. I was wondering about it before, but can you see all the blood marks down there? Before I was thinking that players jumped down and died, but that can't be right, because shouldn't the blood marks be up here if they died from fall damage? Something must be down there, so let's take a look. No fall damage. There's an area down here. Ah, there you have it. Mad Tongue Alberich. He must be the reason for all the bloodstains. Oh, thanks, I guess? He doesn't look like a knight at all. Oh yeah, magic tricks. I see what's going on here. While Sir Ren of Rama-sama was out in the world, searching for the Holy Grail and escaping from Caelid, Mad Tongue Alberich must have secretly infiltrated the Roundtable Hold. He is no knight and would never be able to join it, that's why he seeks out to destroy it from the inside. If I don't stop him, he will find a way upstairs and slaughter all the other residents. This is Ren Rama-sama's first task as a full-fledged knight. If he can defeat Alberich and save the Round Table, he will be granted access to Stormvale Castle. This is his last obstacle on the way. This guy is not bad though. Lots of different spells and he can build up frost and bleed. If both trigger, then I'm most certainly dead. And the way he swings his scythe looks very professional. He is some sort of magical assassin. But I don't know what this is. It's just hurting himself. Yeah, just keep doing it. Oh, there we have Frostbite. It took away a chunk of health and has some lasting effects. I don't know what it does, but I assume it messes with my stats. Maybe my defense or stamina regeneration rate. The status effects are a direct counter against my shield because they build up regardless of blocking. So if somebody turtles up behind a great shield, applying status effects is a good strategy. This guy goes one step further though, because his scythe deals damage on block even though my shield has 100% physical negation. So it either deals elemental damage or has a special ability to circumvent shields. That wouldn't be new in Souls games, there were always weapons like the Shotel which could do that. So Alberich here is specialized to deal with defensive builds. He is a real knight killer. He is at half health now. He is not that hard. I should be able to defeat him in one of the next rounds without... Oh, he can heal himself. I didn't see that coming. That changes my perspective on this fight, and I'm almost out of healing items. Oh no, he roll catched me. That's a strong skill he got there. This one is tough and has a lot of health, and somehow the spear isn't doing it for me in this fight, so in the second attempt I tried out the swords. But I wasn't satisfied with it either. The combination of range, damage and stagger on the enemy just didn't feel right, except maybe for the weapon art. It was just the second fight, but I felt the urge to try out something else, so in round 3 I tried out the old reliable, the Claymore. It immediately felt better. The round was pretty bad in the end, but I was convinced that this was the correct choice. It took another training attempt, but then in round 5 I was really ready, and as you can see the fight went much smoother, for the most part. My main tool against him is the heavy attack of the Claymore, the poke, which is pretty powerful and shuts down a lot of his approaches. When he is running at me or starting a spell animation close by, I can easily interrupt him, and that's the main strategic advantage the Claymore brings to this fight. It's still not for free, of course, especially the status effects can turn the tables fast. But compared to the first fights, I can consistently deal damage without much risk. This is the Lion's Claw weapon art. It is pre-equipped on the Claymore. It's really fancy and does a lot of damage while also approaching the enemy. Compared to the poke, it is a riskier option, but under the right circumstances it catches him off guard. The fact I'm using it shows you that I'm pretty confident right now. This fight is not easy, but it is no Black Knight. I don't feel nearly as intimidated, and in attempt 5 I can already see me winning, if I don't get too cocky. Now look at this stylish finish. Slammed him into the ground. That's how Sir Ren of Rama-sama does things. And this is the end. Next up is Stormwell Castle, which I will overanalyze, of course. Until then, farewell.